Graphics will look a little bit odd, but not a problem at all. Ladies and gentlemen, everyone, welcome to Excellency Shoutcasting. I am Jake Kelton, joined by the one, the only, the Mega Man himself, Wraith, as we get started casting today with the Collegiate League of Legends games. We got ourselves UTA Maelstrom on the blue side, starting off against the Florida International. It's not supposed to be an L, it's supposed to be an I. There we go. Quality content. Florida International University taking them on the red side. Of course, this is a best of 3, so we'll be going to 3 games. No matter who wins one, we'll be seeing some more of these in a moment. But, Wraith, how are you doing today?
I am slowly dying of exhaustion, but that's normal, Jake. But I'm excited to be here casting, and it is Jace and Zoe taken off the table as well as the Udyr. Now, as these are picks that are, let's say, a little less than conventional, not exactly the LCS meta at the moment, I'm expecting that both teams have done some research and are targeting their bans toward members. Udyr, not something you see a lot nowadays. He is pretty strong and has a really obnoxious split push build where, you know, in toward the late game, he just builds a, what's that, Zerat portal and runs down the lane and it's like old Master Yi from Season 2 and 3. Anybody remember that? He'd just run down a lane, like all Yi would do, because he was completely worthless in fights, is that you'd be off team fighting somewhere else, and then there was Yi in the bot lane, killing your towers, and as soon as somebody came down to try and kill him, he just pop Highlander, and there he goes. And you can't catch him. Udyr does the same thing, builds a Zerat portal and just runs away after he deals a bunch of damage to towers.
That's how it's going to be. This time, though, they're also going to have Karthus banned away on the side of FIU. They're going to take away the Jarvan and the Fiddlesticks as well. Some of them are particular picks, and some of them are just general strength. I think Karthus is one of those champions that, even though he has fallen off a little bit, been nerfed slightly, he can still be quite an annoying champion once he gets a couple levels into his ultimate. It doesn't matter what team fight you start, you're still going to be losing a lot of health or get picked off afterwards. As we got our picks coming in, the ADCs, premier picks for both sides. They say, we want to first pick these champions, lock them in. We're going to pick ADCs over everything else. Ezreal and Kai'Sa, both super strong in the meta right now. Kai'Sa scaling incredibly well. Ezreal great after he gets his double tier start. And it looks like we may see... I'm really curious. All right, so Ezreal taking teleport as an ADC isn't a surprise. This is LCS standard positions as well, so you're going to see Ezreal being switched over to Sem and the Kai'Sa switched to Socratic. But I'm really interested in seeing whether Kai'Sa also takes teleport to get back to lane, keep this lane pushed or not. I think more standard, you're going to see that heal or barrier for her Killer Instinct dives.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about the teleport. It works in the LCS. You can have whole teams. You can have your ADC farming bot lane and then teleport fight. You can have it to teleport back to lane and increase lane presence and allow yourself to get a CS lead and maybe a couple of tower plates that way, or force your opponent to stay in lane. But I don't know if it's worth it over heal. I'm just not convinced of it. Like, I've played against it 3 or 4 times since it became meta, and, you know, they TP back to lane, I'd have heal. And then, especially on Ezreal, who has about the lane-shoving presence of Vayne, is just cannot control the wave whatsoever. So, you know, if you're playing a Jinx or somebody with any reasonable amount of wave clear, shove the wave in, Ezreal TPs back to lane, and then, you know, collects that CS. Maybe you lose 6 minions, but you know, say he does that twice in laning phase. Is a 12 minion advantage worth not having the mobility and the survivability of heal for both lane phase fights and for late game team fighting? I'm not convinced, personally.
Not convinced. We do have that Morgana and Orianna locked in by Maelstrom, as well as Galio and LeBlanc finished by FIU. making sure that they pick up those champions. A lot of AP coming in from that LeBlanc and Orianna, as well as support Morgana. Not seeing too many tanks so far. The Sion, the Vi, the Yorick all banned away. So we'll still have to see what top laners are picked up. And right now, there's a lot of premier top laners. I still think that Ornn is pretty good. He did receive a small buff. Go ahead.
Urgot hasn't been banned.
Well, but he also got nerfed pretty heavily. This is the 9.4 patch. He's been nerfed kind of to the ground. A lot of people don't see him as being a premier pick anymore. I think he's still strong-ish, but not as nearly as strong as he used to be.
Last patch, he was oppressive.
Oh, yes. He was disgusting. If you didn't pick Urgot in any major game, you were kind of trolling. If he was available, as Maokai, nice tank there for the side of Florida International, will be locked in. Great at setting up those engages, and Root combined with the Galio ultimate could really set up some of those team fights, as we'll have to see what support gets locked in.
Sylas.
Oh.
He will also have the Root. He will also have the Galio ultimate, thank you very much. See, the thing is when Sylas makes it through the draft, suddenly everything changes and you start asking, all right, what can happen? Kai'Sa's ultimate, no big deal there. I don't even know if he can proc it, because Kai'Sa's ultimate, the person you're teleporting to has to be afflicted with plasma, her passive. So I don't know if he can even use that one. It's kind of like Darius ultimate or Vel'Koz ultimate, the ones that interact with the passives. It seems like a really good idea, but it only does like 10 damage because you don't have the passive stacks.
Mm-hmm.
Kha'Zix and LeBlanc ults, not too scary coming through from the Sylas. However, the Galio and the Maokai, it's usually the big tank ultimates that are terrifying to play against with Sylas, because they usually have decent AP ratios, because there's always that one guy who likes to play cheesy and, AP Malphite, something like that, but the same ratios on Sylas, who's building solid AP, that's pretty intimidating. Maokai ultimate and Galio ultimate, those two are going to be the ones that I'm going to be wanting to see abducted.
Yeah, I love to see him take that Maokai ultimate, especially for those squishier champions like the Kai'Sa or LeBlanc, being able to steal the Maokai ultimate, root them in place, hold them for the Orianna to land that perfect shockwave. Maybe Zac is able to finally land some CC, as though they can be very hard to lock down. High mobile champions, even Kai'Sa's Supercharge, can get her out of harm's way when played correctly. And so good stuff there, as well as Maokai, when he wants to engage, usually sits pretty far back. However, Sylas has a point-and-click ultimate stealer. He says, I don't even have to be near you to see your ultimate. You can be on the opposite side of the fight, and I can still steal it away. Lock your squishier carries down. Give my team the opportunity to jump on them. Maybe if they're rooted long enough for Morgana to pull off a Soul Shackles as well, that could be the fight that they're looking for.
Oh,
I'm seeing a lot of deaths this game, though, because of how much
this team fight is nasty coming through from UTA.
Oh, yes.
Wow.
Oh,
disgusting.
Yes. Well, we'll get into that more in just a second. Let's go ahead and run through the players and their champions for game number 1 in this Premier Collegiate League of Legends game. Currently, UTA Maelstrom has Neo Restoration taking the Sylas in the top lane, divided on the Zac in the jungle, Skye above the Skye with the Orianna in the mid lane, Sem on the Ezreal and the AD carry role, and Taste of Italy supporting the rest of them with Morgana in the supporter role.
All right, and for FIU, you've got Carl with a K on Maokai in the top lane, Norton taking Kha'Zix in the jungle, Eric Dota on LeBlanc in the mid lane, Socratic on Kai'Sa in the bottom lane ADC role, and Strike Down taking Galio in the bottom lane supportive role. Not something we're used to seeing, that bottom lane Galio. I've seen it a couple of times in solo queue. Can be played very aggressively, but all in all, there are usually better picks, especially considering that there's a Morgana here, has a spell shield, pretty much everything Galio can bring to the table is negated by that. But, as I was saying, obscene team fighting. I think you touched on this a little bit here, but you've got Zac to carry the Orianna ball, followed by a stolen Galio ultimate, from Sylas, Ezreal ultimate, and with the buffs that it received with Ezreal's minor rework, no longer cuts its damage as so much as it passes through targets. So it really deals a ton of damage as it goes through, especially after he gets a second tier item that Seraph's Embrace, once it upgrades, really gives him a ton of AP because of the extra tier item that he has. I think it gives you 85 AP just in one item, and that scales almost 1-to-1 with his ultimate. So that's a ton of damage coming through from the Ezreal ultimate coming across, plus the Morgana ult if everybody's not already dead. So just the 5v5 team fighting presence out of Maelstrom is just disgusting. Now that's not to shake a stick at the Maokai and the Galio. Those are both good team fighters, but the rest of these champions really look like pick champions. Kha'Zix going to be wanting to really make something happen in the jungle. LeBlanc more following around, roaming to side lanes, getting people ahead into the early game, and Kai'Sa can more than really any other ADC can follow up on those individual pick plays, because as soon as a CC is landed from any other team member, she can then dash to whoever is being CC'd and then take part in that fight. So you have a really powerful 3- and 4-man pick squad, because Galio can also engage on whatever pick is happening. So once again, a tried and true tale of pick versus team fight. Early game versus late game.
Yeah, I like that pick possibility from FIU, though. We'll get into that in a second as we are into game number 1. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. If you are enjoying, feel free to hit that follow button. Otherwise, just sit back, relax, and here we go as we get to see these two teams coming off onto the Rift. And one of the things is we've actually seen Maelstrom play before, so we know a little bit about their more aggressive style. They kind of enjoy going forward, so this composition will fit them nicely. The thing I like, especially with Strikedown taking this Galio as we scroll over him, is that ultimate Hero's Entrance gives whoever that he is protecting a nice bit of a buff when it comes to their defensive stats, so you can have people like the Maokai, like the Kha'Zix, going in a bit more aggressively when they have that Galio to back them up. And so as you're talking about with a bit more skirmish, a bit more pick composition, you need to have the confidence to step forward. As Sem steps forward, into just dropping a ward. We'll lose it. Give a little bit of gold over. GG! Unable to come back from that gold deficit. No, I'm kidding. Maelstrom sees where FIU is going to be kind of starting off a little bit, and it's otherwise a safe start for both teams.
Yep, nothing terribly exciting in the early game. Kind of what we're used to seeing. It gets every now and again we get to play or we get to watch and see a really fun early game skimmers, but it hasn't happened in a while. Just normal laning phase, some farm going down in the mid lane as well as bot lane. The push advantage is for red side at the moment, and a little bit of trading done. Electrocute procced in the mid lane, but other than that, now level 2 has not been tagged by anyone quite yet. Advantage Sylas in the level 2 push in the top lane. It's quite possible that he could go in. Maokai's not exactly the most intimidating. Never mind, he missed all this stuff.
Yep, that's about an even trade there in the top lane. Maokai, one of the champions you don't see very often. However, the best thing he has about him is his passive heal, which gives him the ability to sustain for a very long time in lane. And guess what? It works off of spells. Sylas is going to be slinging lots of spells, so Maokai should be able to sustain quite well up there as long as he's not getting too bursted out, which again brings our attention to these junglers and where they're going to put that pressure. Zac really wanting to hit level 6, but can gank before then. Kha'Zix, massive damage dealer. He can pretty much gank at any time, though his, I believe it is Evolution ultimate, adding to, I think he wants level 2 jump, if I remember correctly, before he tries to make too much impact in the lanes. He's trying to steal away the Zac's blue as we get a little bit of fight in the mid lane. Nice trading going down to Orianna. Nyx knocks her down to about 2/3 health.
Yeah. And the thing is that when you have a Kha'Zix jungler, really, oh wait, he's stolen away the blue buff from the Zac. Good, good rotation there, making taking advantage of the fact that Zac is, well, pretty much useless in the early game. The thing about a damage jungler like Kha'Zix is that you have to pick your lanes wisely. Since he doesn't bring any real CC to the table, what he has to do is pick a lane that can bring that to the table, and then, because he brings all the damage that's necessary, but if there's no CC, he's just going to walk in the lane, and the other guy's either going to flash or just walk out, you know, just tank the damage and be okay. But there's a lot of CC in all of the lanes. Maokai, a prime target. You have a squishy champion in the top lane who doesn't have a terrible amount of escape potential. Sylas is really mobile when he's going in, but not terribly mobile trying to get out. So Kha'Zix definitely... does anybody bring more CC to the table in the early game than Maokai? Definitely could come top lane and try for a gank there. But also in the bottom lane, a little more tricky because there's a Morgana spell shield. But they do have the Galio with the taunt flash if he needed to. Mid lane.
Oh, I was going to say something to note very quickly is check out this CS deficit in the bottom lane for the Ezreal, down almost 10 farm. He's catching a bit of a wave, but that early pressure from the side of Florida International gives them not only an edge in farm, as actually Ezreal's catching up.
Morgana recall.
Thinking that the side of FIU recall down here and trying to be paired with them on those recalls, she's going to recall as well. Well, let's check really quick on the gold at the moment. Kai'Sa sitting at 1,200. Not quite BF sword status yet. That's probably why they decided to stick around for another wave or two.
Yeah, but Morgana, that's actually really disastrous because she's going to lose out on all of that XP. Also going to stagger the backs and give the opportunity for the Infernal Drake to be picked up here.
No way. LeBlanc pops the scrying cone, so they can't say it. Morgana tries to steal it away with the Dark Binding, but Kha'Zix secures and a very fast early Infernal Drake for Florida International will set them up nicely in the early game.
Yeah, that was not all caused by the recall there, but significantly influenced by it. The fact that that Morgana was down in the not down in the bot lane. They knew they had the man advantage on that side. Not knowing where the Zac is, if you have 2v2 and 3v3 pressure on that, then maybe they don't go for it. It was still a very bold play because they didn't have vision on Zac. I mean, I'm sure everybody's seen that highlight reel play where the Zac just kind of jumps over the pit, smites the thing, and lands on the other side of the pit. Never even enters it. Those are some of my favorite highlight reels for Baron steals and stuff. All right, so bottom lane, like you were saying, a little CS deficit. 10 CS, not crippling. Completely missed that Q on the minion there.
A little bit of fight in the mid lane. Eric Dota dropping the Orianna down to 2/3 health. Got that corrupting potion. We'll have it for a while. So what you're seeing there from that burst of the LeBlanc is just going to keep getting worse as she continues to stack up and gain a bit more damage over the course of the game. Keep in mind, though, Shockwave has been completed by the Orianna now, so she could look for a play somewhere else as Kha'Zix. Did he steal away the red buff from the Zac? He did! So that is 2 buffs this Kha'Zix has stolen away. Also gets level 6 before the Zac. So far, Florida International is doing very well for themselves.
Yeah, they are really showing their dominance in here, and Sim has not...
engage in the bottom lane. Double man taunt, mostly onto the Ezreal, as the spell shield there from Morgana. She's still going to take a beating as Kai'Sa gets a little bit of damage down before they're able to get back to the turret. But it's been all pressure from this bottom side, and they've already taken a plate off, looking for a second plate.
And yeah, the thing is that Kai'Sa is a late game champion, far more so than Ezreal. The reason Ezreal, he's picked up a lot in pro play for the reason that everybody up there is really good. The problem with picking Ezreal down here is that if you play and you miss your Qs, he's basically worthless. And you can't hit the... But Kai'Sa, all she has to do is really hit her hit her auto attacks and then press Q. Q's not even targeted. You don't even have to point and click. You just press Q and it clicks itself.
Making life easy. Silas has his ult on the top side, hasn't used it yet, as Dota in the mid lane gotta find a nice finding down the shockwave used by Orianna, dropping Eric low. Zac coming in, forces the flash, but the ignite is already ticking away. I don't think Skye is gonna survive. The shield keeps her alive. Kha'Zix misses his hop over the wall. LeBlanc hopping backwards only to Rowan death. First blood to the Zac is divided, is gonna need to make sure he doesn't get his cells divided, as Morgana running to the bottom side finds a nice dark binding onto the Kha'Zix. He can't hop away. He's gone. Double kill to the Zac. Divided, feeling really good about that. Silas rotates to the mid as well. They're moving towards the top side together. Rift Herald's not even on the map.
Yeah, FIU was really dominating the early game, but a great roam from Morgana really turned things on its head in the mid lane. That's a lot of LeBlanc's pressure and dominance gone. She had collected a fairly decent CS lead for herself, but those 2 assists picked up by the Orianna in the mid lane are going to largely make up for that. Also in the bottom lane, Ezreal going to get to shove this wave in and try and recoup a little bit of that CS deficit. Because still sitting a little bit behind his opponent with about 10 CS.
So 2 kills to 0. Maelstrom doing a fantastic job. The goal difference not that big between the two, mostly because of the pressure that FIU is able to put in those lanes. Silas getting a little bit of lead on the top side, pushing it under the turret. As Galio ultimate's going to come through in the mid lane. He's not going to find the knockup on Orianna. He's still going to fall as Winds of War from Strike Down will secure it. So Galio making some nice moves, gives the first kill to FIU. They got a little bit to get back even goals.
Elevated.
Yeah, that's... I don't know if that... Like, they got the kill. But what they get after that... Okay, they're going to turn it into a Rift Herald. This is more worth. I was going to say, if it's just a kill, that's a lot committed for not a lot of advantage gained. LeBlanc just going to try and trade in on the Zac.
Case of Italy trying to step forward, loses a lot of health to the Kai'Sa. The Rift Herald secured by Florida International, as they are going to continue to decimate this bottom turret, knocking down to that 4th plate. And that's really all you need before that turret plating falls. You could get the 5th if you wanted to, but it's about equal gold.
Yeah, it actually gives you a little bit of an increase. It's still 160, 188. Oh no, yeah, 160 extra gold on the first plate, or on the final plate. But Socratic looks like he's gonna go for this. And what with Taste of Italy being back, there's no real risk to be had here. Zac down on the bottom side. Yeah. But with Kha'Zix hovering...
We'll see which team is going to pull the trigger. The Mountain Drake was started up by the Kha'Zix, the TP into
TP
Maokai, but he's been setting up with the rest of the team members. He's going to throw out the ultimate. Silas still his own, so it's Roots for Roots going to come through. Kai'Sa locked up, but it's Neon Restoration. It's going to be the first drop as Orianna gets a massive shockwave off into 2 members. Divided has been split. He's going to drop. Norton low has to get out the Mountain Drake, trying to help finish the
Mountain
kill.
Drake
Gives it to the Orianna. So it is a 2-for-1 overall in kills, but again, victory for Florida International. No one picking up the Mountain Drake yet. A little bit of attempt from LeBlanc, but with no mana, she can't go in a second time. Carl with the K, clearing up the Scuttle Crab. Go ahead.
All in all, the 2-for-1 trade. Taste of Italy going to try and steal that away there. And yeah, Orianna's going to come down, and Taste of Italy going to completely whiff the Dark Binding. Is there anything more tilting than when the Scuttle Crab jukes your still shot? But you did see a little taste of what Maelstrom's team fight will look like in the late game, considering how far ahead just in CS and really map pressure that FIU have been all game. You would have expected a complete wipe around the Drake, especially considering the setup that they had to start with. But the Morgana flashing in, as well as the Orianna to get both of those ultimates fully channeled, really did a lot of damage. And ended up coming out a little less than even, but once people scale up, it'll definitely be an interesting story here. But
Zac looking like he was attempting to jump in the bottom lane, decided to call off. Lots of pings from Florida National saying, we see him back away, back away, back away. As you're talking about, though, that team fight, one of the things with Xylas stealing away that Maokai ultimate, locking down the Kai'Sa, is you may have all the damage in the world, Infinity Edge completed, but if you can't get within auto attack range, you can't do anything. and she was basically outside of the fight for the most part, and then as soon as she was stepping forward, that's when the Orianna dropped the shockwave, and again, kind of pushed that Kai'Sa away. So if they can keep that sort of distance away from the stronger members of Florida International, it could be good. That said, if they don't lock those damage dealers down, the carries of the Kai'Sa and LeBlanc, they could be in trouble as Galio in the bottom lane flashes forward. Double man taunt to Black Shield's not going to save Morgana. She's going to fall. Two-shot barrage is going to miss completely, but it's still kill to Florida International's bottom lane.
Yeah, FIU's, like, their organization on their shot calls is so clean. Like that shot in the mid lane with the Galio ultimate coming in, and then the flash forward from Carl with a K. The organization from this team is something we haven't seen very much of. The individual skill's pretty good, but the shot calling is really, really nice.
All right, Mountain
And turret
Drake
plating falling off.
secured by Florida International, so they've got double Drake so far this game and doing well. One of the things is best of 3, though. If FIU are successful at being able to complete this game, there's an opportunity for Maelstrom to come back in game number 2. Say, you know what, we saw some of our mistakes, or we need to fix those and make sure that we're ready for game number 2. As Rift Herald going to be spawned in the base. I think it was about to time out. It was just taken a little bit ago, and will wander its way towards the top side, which has been rotated to by the Kai'Sa and the Galio, seeing as they already took the bottom lane too.
Yeah, and if Maelstrom doesn't respond to this, they're going to have a pretty tough time. Silas going top lane, and Morgana looks like she's trending that way. But with 2 members recalling as the Herald Crest's lane, this is probably going to be top lane turret falling, if not tier 2 as well.
Oh, I think Shelly's going to finally get that charge onto the turret. That's what you want, even if she goes down immediately afterwards. The worst thing in the world is for her to get stopped by those minions and just cleared up. Roam from Morgana to make sure that Shelly goes down, but still, top lane turret down to about half. There's 4 members of FIU in the area.
That was surprising that despite having almost their entire team on the top side and vision of other members of the team, not like they had vision of Orianna recalling in the mid lane, and they didn't know where Zac was, but they had the man advantage and the Rift Herald on top side. I'm surprised they didn't press that advantage there. There wasn't much risk of them actually getting collapsed on.
Kha'Zix, and I think this is the Maokai, collecting together, stealing away more of this Zac's jungle. Nice smite from the Kha'Zix. In the meantime, fighting the top side as the Galio and Sakuratic once again going in, this time onto Sem, dropping him below Ignite, and that's his first death of the game. Strikedown doing a nice job tanking up the turret, making sure Kai'Sa can not only get the kill, but now freely take away this top lane turret, and you're just stacking so much gold on this late game carry.
Yeah, that's the thing, that with an early game champion like a Drake or something like that, Lucian, they do fall off toward the late game. The concerning part is Ezreal's stronger in the early game than Kai'Sa is, but Kai'Sa just completely dominating. We've got
A little bit of engage, but kind of jumped away from by the members of Florida International as that Orianna once again dropped down to the quarter health in the mid lane. Nice burst coming out of this LeBlanc. We'll see how long she can keep it up, and if Orianna finds the right shockwave, as a Mountain Drake will be the next one to spawn. 2 Mountain Drakes in the hand of a team that already has an Infernal would mean Baron just disappears under fire.
Yeah, that would definitely be it's one of those things to think about. A lot of people lose track of the Drakes towards solo queue, but that's a strategy element that you can really use to your advantage. Having 2 Mountain Drakes, like you said, gives you a lot more Baron pressure, so just dropping a control ward on Baron for 30 seconds or something like that, just long enough to get vision on your enemy team. If you see somebody bot side, you can just make that shot call, take the Baron, and there's not much chance of reverse from the enemy team.
Speaking of vision, check out Florida International's vision. Control ward on the Drake by the middle lane, and on Baron Pit, Tribush on the top side. They have completely walled off the center of the map with control wards. saying, we'll see if you come walking by. So much so that Maelstrom only has control wards in their own jungle areas because that's what they're actually contesting. So even though the gold was fairly even for a while, there's a fight breaking down here, though. Zach Aldo's going to bring 3 people back into the true shot barrage from the Ezreal, but the Morgana's getting so low. Void Seeker's going to find her. She's going to go down. The Smite is not going to keep Zach alive for much longer. However, Silas is in here doing what he can with some nice wreckage. Zach is able to CC 2 members for a short moment, flashes away. He's a tiny little guy as the Maokai goes in, finds a route onto the Ezreal, dropping Sam Lola Blanc, trying to get into the flash. Keeps the Ezreal alive. Kha'Zix still secures 2 kills. I think it was somehow killed Orianna in the middle of that. I think she showed up and immediately died.
Yes, Credit did work in that fight so much, and just look at FIU completely clearing out their opponent's jungle right after that fight. That's how it's done. You want to take away maximum resources, and they've left a big trail of vision behind in perfect time to set up for the Drake that is spawning in just a few seconds. Another Mountain Drake, like you were saying, the Baron threat going to be real. They already have one. This one looks like it's going to be completely uncontested. Zach on the top side and very low right now. So with the control war down, this is basically a foregone conclusion. We're probably just going to smite this away.
Yep, secure themselves a Mountain Drake, which is also going to allow them to finish off with these recalls. A couple of really big items. Maokai having finished off that Spirit Visage as the Kha'Zix, securing not only Dusk Blade, but also his Boots of Mobility for that extra movement speed. Luden's Echo on the LeBlanc. Make sure she pops a little bit more damage. And 2 items completed on the Kai'Sa, whereas Ezreal still waiting on that second tier to finish his Seraph's Embrace.
Yep. That's probably the biggest disparity in this team. Sure, Kha'Zix is ahead, but I've seen Kha'Zix get ahead plenty of times and then dive into the middle of a team fight and kill himself. The problem is with Kai'Sa, she's just going to keep getting bigger. She's got Infinity Edge.
Engage from Zach. He's going to pull the LeBlanc back. We'll see if the Distortion is able to get her out from long. No, the nice snap by the Zach pulls her into a minion. She does actually get the ultimate Distortion to escape, so she will live, but has burned quite a lot. Orianna in trouble, though. She's being bursted down by the Kha'Zix. She's trying to escape with a little bit of shield. She's still alive for now. Finally drops to the Maokai Sapling as Divided is doing what he can. He's going to be dropped low, though. Has been split up into that cell division, but I think he's still going to drop as there are 4 members of Florida International that will just destroy them and can now turn on to the Baron as they've taken away the enemy team jungle.
Yep, with Zach falling and Orianna out of the picture as well as Morgana, there is no prayer of them stopping this Baron. 2 Mountain Drakes and an Infernal going to make this one just evaporate. Kai'Sa and Kha'Zix do huge single target damage to the Baron, and with a Maokai to tank it up, there was really no chance of anything going wrong there. FIU just showing their dominance in this early game, and the mid game they've transferred that lead they got in laning phase and turned it into a decisive stranglehold on their opponents. Maelstrom does not really have a prayer of winning right now unless FIU screws up really big at the moment. There's not really much that they can do. Their destiny is not in their own hands right now.
And in the Southern League of the collegiate scene, these 2 teams are actually even in the standings, both 4-1 in their own right. So they're looking to make that 5th play. I think this is week 6 at the moment, and there are a few teams that are 5-0, so they want to be going even with whichever teams lose today's games. As I saw in another channel, 2 teams, both 5-0, were playing against each other. Making your statement towards the top of the standings. Bottom side, second tier turret going to be destroyed as Zach's looking for an engage onto the Maokai, but Galio's going to have a nice taunt. It's going to be disrupted, though, by the ultimate from the Zach. Gets him out of harm's way, however, he's dropping excruciatingly low. He's not going to go down just yet. 2-shot barrage
goes down
the ADC of Florida International. In the meantime, LeBlanc is able to finish off the Orianna Sky the above in the mid lane in that 1v1 fight. We didn't see it, but we know that LeBlanc's burst is just insane. Kha'Zix still waiting in the wings, as pressure on this bottom side with the Baron is going to be stifled from Maelstrom, but that mid lane second tier turret seems to be juicy for Florida International.
Yeah, the taking down the Kaisa right there was probably the most important thing that could have happened in that fight. Otherwise, it probably would have been an inhibitor, maybe the end of the game if that fight goes south for Maelstrom. But as it stands, still they're going to lose the mid lane tier 2 as well as possibly the top lane inner, but unless they decide, FIU decides that they want to reset, and it looks like they are going to now, having Kaisa back out on the map, going to go back, spend some gold from that last fight, and probably collapse toward that top side afterward.
And you can see for the side of Maelstrom, they're down so much gold, down 8,000 gold, most of them only completing one or a half item. Morgana doesn't even have her Zhonya's yet, having to invest so heavily into her supportive item. She's got the broken stopwatch, though, that's already been used in that last fight. So needs a little bit more gold to finish off that, which will become more valuable as these team fights are only getting harder and harder to win. Side of Florida International doing their homework, setting up this vision inside the enemy team jungle, and it's all on this top side so they can put some pressure onto the second tier turret in the top lane.
Yep. So Socratic and his support, as well as Maokai, are going toward the top side, going to crack down this inner turret without any real issue, and they're going to go toward the top lane inhibitor turret. But moving backwards a little, a second recall. Curious. I'm assuming item break points here. Yes, and it is going to be the Kaisa picking up a man along with. So that's 3 completed items plus boots against the only 2 completed items and uncompleted boots from the Ezreal. The domination in the bot lane is real. Look at the CS deficit, Jake. That's just brutal.
Coming close to 100 CS difference. 2-shot barrage from the Ezreal. They're going to fly by the Drake, so they're going to see it. Zach, a little bit of hope there. Maybe he can hop by and try to smite it away, but they did their job and pulled it away from being inside that dragon pit. No chance for Divided to seal it away, and it is a 3rd Mountain Drake. When Baron comes up again, if the fight goes south for Maelstrom, that Baron is going to be gone in the blink of an eye.
I don't even think the fight has to go south. At this point, I think they can just drop a control ward on it. And there's between the single target damage of the Kaisa and the Kha'Zix, Void champions just like killing Baron for some reason. But Kaisa and Kha'Zix just dropping that control ward there, and they could probably 2-man it at this point. So much true damage. Let's see, that is 30% true damage.
Engage from Zac onto 3 members, gets the knockup onto the Maokai, who's going to start the route going backwards. The Galio ultimate coming in, but it doesn't do anything other than knock up the Morgana, who's deep in the enemy territory. Will drop. The Kaisa finally comes over the wall. She's destroying everything. Runa's Hurricane burns everyone down. Make it an ace as the side of Florida International University clear up the Zac and wipe the floor with Maelstrom. All 5 members still standing. Socratic came in at the perfect time with the ultimate.
Yep, and that is the game. There's really nothing. Yeah, it's 7 seconds on Ghana, but she's not going to do anything. Clean ace for FIU. And Carl with a K just tanking up that tower real quick. Going to knock down the Nexus towers, and the Nexus will follow. Game 1 to FIU.
And they did a fantastic job with it as well. Even though the very first, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes of the game were about even, you could see the Florida International were kind of setting up for victory. They kind of knew what they wanted to do. They knew the pressure points. Their bottom side kept up full aggression nonstop into that bottom lane. And then their jungler just made so many perfect roams, perfect rotations, setting things up. There we go, as we are going to conclude that game. We'll look at the stats for just a moment. But ladies and gentlemen, we have a game number 2 coming up. And if you thought that one was good, I'm expecting an even stronger game coming out from Maelstrom, as they know that if they lose that next game, they will be going down. And they really want to be tied for 2nd place in the standings. Anything particularly you want to talk about for the post-game scene?
Draft, I think it's definite. The Ezreal draft was not the best thing. It works at high elo, and it works if you're just like an Ezreal savant, but I mean, it just did not work out for Sim in the bottom lane. They had the defensive Morgana there, but Secretic just getting the better of trades in the bottom lane, farming better, all around just better play, as well as picking a late game scaling champion, whereas Ezreal scales well if you hit your abilities. He doesn't scale well, and if he gets behind, it's so hard to do anything, especially through a tank line. He sucks at killing tanks, and with Strike Down and Carl with a K tanking up on the front line, there's just no prayer for Sim to do any damage. I think that's really just the story. The damage dealers or Maelstrom just didn't have any gold or resources. I mean, Orianna farmed well, to basically going even in the end with Eric Dota, despite the extra pressure that Luke had from the team. And Neo Restoration, not much that he could do against Carl with a K, as you can see with the Maokai. Deathless 1-0-12, despite some very aggressive play, being in the middle and soaking the damage from the entire team at multiple times. Never went down. So just not enough damage coming through from that side. While Divided did a really good job in the jungle, just they didn't get the ball rolling early enough in the game to make their late game team fighting help.
All right, well, we're going to go to a very quick break, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back with game number 2. Don't go anywhere. Get a snack, get a drink, because this next one's going to be pretty good as well. We'll see you in the next game.